two Apache twins took him home and handed him over to his widowed mother. The sun had barely risen over the small town that lay at the edge of the desert. The morning air was crisp but dry, carrying the scent of dust and sagebrush. Birds chirped from the few trees scattered near the town's edge, but the usual morning bustle was absent on the dusty streets. Among the quiet, a soft, frightened sound broke the stillness, a small child's cry. It was weak at first, almost lost in the wind, but persistent enough to catch the attention of two figures walking nearby. These two were not ordinary men or women. They were twins, young but wise beyond their years, known in the local Apache community for their sharp eyes and courage. People in the town often relied on them to help find lost animals or to guide travelers through the harsh desert terrain. But this morning, the twins were about to encounter something far more delicate and urgent than any lost goat or wandering traveler. The boy was small, probably no older than 5 or 6, with dusty brown hair sticking to his forehead and tears streaking down his cheeks. His tiny hands clutched a frayed piece of cloth, the only belonging he seemed to carry. His eyes were wide with fear, scanning the empty streets as though searching for someone who would never appear. His cries had a sharp edge to them, the kind that comes from deep sorrow and loneliness. When the twins spotted him, they froze for a moment, unsure of how to approach. The boy flinched as they stepped closer, his small body trembling. But the twins, speaking softly to each other in whispers only they could understand, devised a gentle plan. They knelt down at his level, showing open hands and warm faces. "Hey there, little one," one twin said softly. "You're safe now. We won't hurt you." The boy hesitated, the corners of his mouth quivering as he tried to decide whether to trust them. He had been alone for so long that trust felt dangerous. But the kindness in their eyes, the calm in their voices, slowly melted some of his fear. He took a tiny step forward, then another, until he stood between them, still clutching his cloth but a little less tense. The twins looked at each other and nodded silently. They knew they could not leave him here. The streets were too empty, and the boy was too small to fend for himself. Someone had to take responsibility, and it seemed fate had chosen them. Gently, they guided him to walk alongside them, making sure not to rush or frighten him. The desert heat was rising now, and even the short walk seemed long for the small boy, but he kept up, spurred on by the twins' steady presence. As they walked, the twins noticed small details about him that told a story of loss and neglect. His clothes were worn and patched, dusty from wandering. His shoes were too large, scuffed at the toes, suggesting he had been handed down or found somewhere. The cloth he clutched tightly seemed almost like a security blanket, perhaps a remnant of a family member he had lost. Every little detail tugged at their hearts, deepening their resolve to help him. They decided to take a small detour through a nearby canyon, hoping the quiet paths would give the boy a chance to rest and feel safe. The canyon walls glowed with the soft morning sun, turning the rocks golden and warm. Birds flitted from ledge to ledge, and the twins pointed out small lizards and insects to distract him from his fear. For a moment, a tiny smile flickered across the boy's face. He reached out to touch the rocks, feeling their smooth surfaces, his curiosity briefly overpowering his sadness. Along the way, the twins shared small pieces of themselves with the boy. One hummed a soft tune his mother used to sing, while the other told a story about a clever fox that outsmarted a hungry coyote. The boy listened intently, eyes wide, forgetting for a few minutes that the world had been cruel to him. It was the first taste of safety and warmth he had felt in a long time, and it began to melt some of the fear lodged deep in his chest. But the twins also knew that fun and distraction were not enough. They had to find out where he came from and if he had a family. They asked gentle questions, careful not to scare him. "Do you remember your home? Do you know your mother or father?" But the boy could only shake his head. His answers were tiny whispers, often drowned out by his sobs. The twins realized this child had been separated from his family for longer than they had first thought. The weight of their responsibility grew heavier, but they did not falter. By midday, the desert sun beat down harshly, and the twins found a small shaded area under a lone mesquite tree. They sat the boy down, gave him water and small pieces of bread they had carried, and let him rest. He devoured the bread hungrily, and they watched silently, careful not to interrupt the fragile trust forming between them. Every bite he took was a small victory, a step back from the despair that had likely consumed him for days. While he rested, the twins spoke quietly among themselves. They discussed the best ways to find his family. Should they ask the townspeople? Should they search the nearby settlements? They knew it would not be easy, but they were determined. The boy had been abandoned, intentionally or by accident, and it was their duty to reunite him with the people who should love and protect him. As afternoon approached, the twins gently helped the boy to his feet. They continued their journey, taking careful steps through the uneven terrain of the desert. The boy leaned on them for support, sometimes letting them hold his hand. Though he was small and weary, his trust in them grew with every step, a silent bond forming between the child and the young heroes who had found him. The journey was not without danger. Cacti and thorny bushes scratched at their clothes and arms, the sun grew hotter, and the path was long. Yet the twins remained calm, always placing the boy's safety above their own comfort. Their knowledge of the land helped them navigate, avoiding hidden ravines and dangerous animals that roamed the desert. Every careful step reinforced the unspoken promise they had made, to bring him home, no matter what. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky with oranges and pinks, the boy finally seemed to relax. He no longer clung as tightly to his cloth, his little body leaning slightly against the twins' arms. They could see in his eyes a faint glimmer of hope, the first spark of belief that perhaps he was not truly alone. By the time they approached the outskirts of another small settlement, the boy looked at them with a mix of wonder and relief. They had walked miles together, shared quiet moments, and survived the trials of the harsh desert. The twins exchanged a glance, both silently acknowledging that their task was only beginning. Finding the boy's mother, someone who had surely been grieving, would be another challenge, but one they were ready to face. That evening, as the last rays of sun disappeared behind the mountains, the twins made a small camp near a river that ran through the settlement. They built a gentle fire, kept the boy close, and listened to him speak his first words in hours, simple sounds but full of trust. For the first time, he allowed himself to believe that someone cared, that he could be safe again. The twins, too, felt something shift within them. They had started the day as ordinary scouts, known for their courage and quick thinking, but now they were guardians, protectors, and friends. The journey ahead was uncertain, but the bond formed in those quiet, careful steps across the desert would carry them forward. They knew the boy's life could change forever in the coming days, and they were ready to guide him through the darkness toward the light of his home. As the night grew quiet, the twins stayed awake in shifts, keeping watch over the sleeping child. They thought about the boy's journey before they had found him, imagining the loneliness, fear, and confusion he must have felt. They resolved silently to be the anchors of safety and hope he needed. The desert had tested them, but it had also revealed something powerful: compassion, courage, and the quiet strength of those willing to help another in need. And so, under the star-filled sky, the boy slept safely for the first time in what felt like an eternity, wrapped not just in a blanket, but in the protection and care of the two Apache twins who had found him and vowed to bring him home. Tomorrow, the search for his family would continue, but for now, he was no longer alone. The next morning, the desert seemed alive with quiet anticipation. The sun rose slowly, spilling golden light across the rocky terrain, and the gentle wind carried the scent of sagebrush and dust. The boy awoke in the small camp the twins had made the previous night, stretching his tiny arms and blinking sleepily against the bright light. For the first time in what felt like forever, he had slept without fear. The twins, already awake and alert, were preparing some bread and water for him. Their eyes met briefly, a silent acknowledgement that today's journey would be even more important than yesterday's. "Time to eat, little one twin said softly, handing him a piece of bread. "We have a long day ahead." The boy took the bread with both hands, eating slowly but steadily, his eyes flicking between the twins. He was beginning to understand that these strangers were not only kind but also determined to help him. As he chewed, he noticed how carefully they arranged their packs, checking ropes, water, and supplies. Their diligence comforted him. He realized they were not acting on impulse. They were planning, thinking ahead, and protecting him at every step. Once breakfast was over, they began walking again. The twins had decided to head toward a nearby settlement where they hoped to find people who might know the boy's mother. They took quiet paths along the edges of the desert, careful to avoid the main roads that might be dangerous. The boy walked between them, sometimes holding hands, sometimes letting them lead while he followed silently. The terrain was uneven, rocks and dry brush making each step a small challenge, but the twins never rushed him. Every so often they would point out small wonders along the way, a butterfly resting on a thorny bush, a small lizard darting into the sand, or the way sunlight shimmered on a distant cliff. "You see that, little one twin asked, pointing to the cliff. "Even in the harsh desert, life finds a way." The boy nodded slowly, his curiosity awakening. He had spent so much time lost and afraid that he had almost forgotten how to notice small beauties. Now, walking with the twins, he began to see the desert differently. It was harsh and difficult, yes, but it was also alive, full of creatures, colors, and sounds that made it magical. As the morning passed, they encountered a few travelers and villagers. Each time the twins would approach them politely, explaining the situation without alarming anyone. "We found this boy alone yesterday," one twin would say. "We are trying to find his mother. Do you know where she might be?" Some villagers shook their heads, offering sympathy but no answers. Others pointed them toward nearby houses or families who might recognize the boy. Every lead was a small thread of hope, but most ended in disappointment. The boy began to tire, his steps slowing, and the twins would gently encourage him, lifting his spirits with quiet words and playful gestures. At one point, they found a small stream and let him splash in the cool water, washing the dust from his face and hands. He laughed for the first time in days, a sound so pure and unexpected that the twins shared a small, relieved smile. Despite these brief moments of joy, the twins knew their journey would not be easy. The boy's mother could be anywhere, and the trail was thin. They decided to ask questions at the market in the next settlement. The market was busy with merchants selling fruits, cloth, and small trinkets. The boy clung to one twin's hand, his eyes wide at the bustling scene. He had never seen so many people together, and the noise made him nervous. But the twins stayed close, shielding him from overwhelming crowds, speaking calmly and slowly to reassure him. They approached a woman selling woven baskets. "Excuse me," one twin began politely. "We found this boy alone yesterday. We are trying to find his mother. Do you recognize him?" The woman peered at the boy, leaning in closer. She shook her head gently. "I'm sorry, I don't know him. But perhaps you should ask at the other end of the market. There is a woman who helps with lost children sometimes." Thanking her, the twins guided the boy through the busy lanes. They kept an eye on him constantly, making sure no one jostled him or scared him. At the far end of the market, they found the woman. She was older, with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair. When the twins explained the situation, her face softened with concern. "This child is lost," she asked, crouching down to meet his gaze. "We must try to find his family." She called out to other helpers in the market, showing them the boy and describing him carefully. Slowly, people began to suggest names and places, connecting dots from past sightings of the boy. They learned he had been seen near the town's edge the day before, wandering alone. A pattern began to emerge. The boy was likely from a small house not far from the river that ran through the town. Encouraged by this lead, the twins decided to follow it immediately. The boy's excitement grew, mixed with nervousness. He clutched their hands tightly, whispering, maybe I'll see her soon." His voice trembled, but there was hope in it now, a hope he hadn't felt in days. The journey to the riverside houses was slow but steady. The twins guided him carefully, checking each home along the way. They knocked on doors, asked questions politely, and showed people small details, like the locket he carried. Each time someone shook their head, the boy's shoulders sagged a little, but the twins encouraged him with quiet words. "We're close, little one. Keep going." Finally, they reached a small, modest house near the riverbank. The windows were open and the curtains fluttered in the light breeze. The twins hesitated for a moment, then knocked gently. A woman appeared, wiping her hands on a cloth. Her eyes widened immediately when she saw the boy. "Mother!" the boy cried, rushing forward. The woman gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes as she pulled the boy into a tight embrace. "Oh, my child, my little one," she whispered, holding him close. The twins stood back respectfully, watching the reunion unfold. The boy clung to his mother, burying his face in her shoulder, as if to make up for every lost moment of safety and love. The mother turned to the twins, tears running down her cheeks. How did you find him? Who are you?" The twins explained gently, recounting how they had found him wandering alone, cared for him, and searched tirelessly to bring him home. The mother listened, nodding in disbelief and gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you," she said softly. "You saved him. You've given me my son back." For the boy, the world suddenly felt different. The fear that had haunted him for days began to fade, replaced by the warmth of his mother's arms. He looked at the twins with wide, grateful eyes, realizing that their kindness had changed everything for him. They had given him hope, protection, and the promise of safety, all without expecting anything in return. After a while, the twins said their goodbyes. The boy's mother insisted they stay for a meal, but the twins politely declined, knowing their work and journey were not yet over. They watched as the boy played with his mother, laughing and smiling. The weight of loneliness lifted from his small shoulders. As they walked away from the house, the twins felt a quiet satisfaction. Their mission had succeeded, and though they had faced challenges, the journey had taught them more than they had anticipated. They had learned about resilience, the power of small acts of kindness, and the importance of staying determined even when hope seemed distant. By the time they returned to the desert paths they called home, the twins reflected on the day's events. They had carried the boy safely, asked for help, and finally reunited him with the one person who could heal his heart. The desert, with all its harshness, had also revealed the beauty of compassion, courage, and humanity. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the twins stopped for a moment to rest. They looked back toward the settlement, imagining the boy safely with his mother. A sense of peace settled over them. They knew there were more challenges ahead in life, but for today they had made a difference, and that was enough. In the quiet of the evening, with stars beginning to twinkle above, the twins smiled at each other. They had started the day as ordinary scouts, but they ended it as heroes in the life of a small child. And though they would not seek recognition, the memory of the boy's tearful gratitude would stay with them forever. A reminder that courage, empathy, and determination could change a life in the simplest, yet most profound ways. After the boy was safely back with his mother, the twins felt a quiet pride, but their hearts were still heavy with concern. They knew the boy's life had not been easy, and the short time they had spent together only scratched the surface of the struggles he had faced. As they walked back along the dusty desert path toward their own small village, they began to reflect on what had happened, trying to understand the boy's past and how it had led him to wander alone. The twins had learned from the mother that the boy had lost his father unexpectedly some months ago. The father had been a kind man, hardworking and full of love for his family, but illness had taken him too soon. The mother had been left to raise her young son alone, doing her best to care for him while grieving deeply. In the days following the father's death, the boy had wandered away in confusion and sorrow, seeking comfort he could not find. His small heart had carried more sadness than any child should bear, and that loneliness had brought him to the edge of the desert, where the twins had found him. As the twins retraced their steps through the canyon and along the river, they thought about how fragile life could be. The boy's story was a harsh reminder of how quickly circumstances could change. One day, everything a person relied on could disappear, leaving only fear and uncertainty behind. Yet, despite the sadness, the twins also felt a quiet determination. They realized that even small acts of kindness, like guiding a lost child home, could bring hope and light into someone's life. The journey back was not easy. The desert, which had seemed calm and beautiful in the early morning, now felt harsher under the rising sun. The heat pressed down on them, and the rocks and sand made walking tiring. But the twins remained alert, their eyes scanning the landscape for any signs of danger. They were aware that the world could be unpredictable, and they wanted to be ready for anything, for themselves and for anyone else who might need help along the way. As they walked, they spoke about the boy, wondering what he might remember about their time together. Would he think of them kindly, or would the memory fade as other challenges in his life returned? They hoped the lessons he had learned, trust, kindness, and courage, would stay with him, guiding him through the hardships ahead. The twins also reflected on their own lives, comparing their experiences to what the boy had endured. They had grown up in the same harsh desert environment, but they had always been together, looking out for each other. They understood loneliness, yes, but they had never been as isolated as the boy had been. Their bond, their shared courage and understanding, had given them strength in difficult times, and they hoped the boy would one day find similar support from his mother and community. Along the way, they came across small signs of life: a desert fox darting across the rocks, a family of rabbits hiding in the shadows, and a hawk circling above. These little glimpses of nature reminded them that life continued, even in the face of hardship. The twins paused occasionally to observe, pointing out these wonders to each other. They felt a sense of peace in these moments, a reminder that even in difficult times, there were small blessings to appreciate. As they neared their village, they met a group of children playing near a dry stream bed. The children paused to stare at the twins, curious about the long journey they had taken. One of the twins smiled and waved, explaining briefly that they had helped a boy find his mother. The children listened with wide eyes, impressed by the courage and determination of the twins. Their story became an example of bravery and kindness, showing that even young people could make a difference in someone's life. When they finally arrived home, the twins were exhausted but fulfilled. They sat down under the shade of a large tree, reflecting on all that had happened. The boy's reunion with his mother had been a moment of joy, but it had also reminded them of the fragility of life. They knew that the desert, beautiful and alive as it was, could be unforgiving, and that many others might face challenges similar to the boys. That evening, as they rested, the twins began to think about ways they could help their community more. They wanted to make sure that no child would have to wander alone in the desert again. They considered forming a small group to watch for lost children, to provide guidance and protection when needed. The idea filled them with hope and purpose. They realized that their courage could be multiplied when shared with others, creating a network of care and safety for those in need. The boy's story also left a lasting impression on the twins' families. When they recounted the events, their parents listened with a mix of pride and concern. They praised the twins for their bravery, but reminded them that helping others came with responsibility and challenges. The twins listened carefully, understanding that while acts of kindness were important, they also required thought, planning, and resilience. Over the next few days, the twins could not stop thinking about the boy. They wondered how he was adjusting to life with his mother, whether he had begun to heal from the fear and sadness he had experienced. They hoped that the mother would continue to provide the love and guidance he needed, helping him grow into a strong and confident person, despite the hardships of his early life. The boy's mother, too, took steps to strengthen her home and provide a stable environment for her son. She shared stories of his father, teaching him about the love that had shaped his early years. She encouraged him to talk about his feelings, helping him process the confusion and grief that had followed the loss of his father. Slowly, the boy began to open up, his laughter returning and his fear subsiding. The twins had given him a bridge back to safety, and now his mother was helping him cross it fully. Despite the reunion, the twins knew that life would continue to present challenges. The desert remained a harsh and unpredictable place, and the boy's early experiences would likely shape him for years to come. But the twins also recognized the resilience that had brought him this far. He had survived alone, endured fear and loneliness, and now had the guidance of his mother and the memory of the twins' kindness. These experiences, though difficult, would teach him strength, empathy, and courage. The twins returned to their daily routines, but the memory of the boy stayed with them. They found themselves more attentive to the needs of others, noticing children wandering too close to dangerous paths or animals that needed help. Their actions inspired others in the village, creating a culture of care and responsibility. The twins realized that one small act of kindness could ripple outward, affecting more lives than they could imagine. As the days passed, the boy grew stronger and more confident. He began to explore his surroundings under the watchful eye of his mother, learning about the world that had seemed so frightening just weeks before. The twins occasionally visited, checking in on him and sharing stories, their bond remaining strong even after the initial crisis had passed. Each visit reinforced the lessons of trust, courage, and empathy that had been central to their first encounter. Through these experiences, the twins came to understand a deeper truth about life, that struggles and challenges were a part of every journey, but compassion and determination could transform despair into hope. The boy's story became a symbol of resilience in their community, a reminder that even in the most difficult circumstances, human kindness could make a profound difference. And so, the twins continued to live their lives with awareness and purpose, carrying the memory of the boy with them. They knew that more challenges would come, both for themselves and for those around them, but they faced each day with courage and the knowledge that small acts of kindness could change the world. The boy's journey had been difficult, but it had also revealed the power of empathy, love, and connection, lessons that would remain with them forever. Days passed since the boy had returned to his mother, and life seemed to settle into a quieter rhythm. The river glimmered softly in the afternoon sun, and the wind whispered through the trees as if telling secrets of hope and renewal. Yet, beneath the surface of this peaceful scene, the boy still carried memories of fear and loneliness. Though he was safe, though his mother held him close each night, he could not forget the emptiness he had felt when he was alone in the desert. The twins, ever vigilant and thoughtful, noticed this. They visited often, bringing small gifts or simply spending time with the boy. Sometimes they played games with him, teaching him how to make simple toys from sticks or leaves. Other times, they simply sat in silence, letting him speak about his feelings if he wanted to. They understood that healing was not instantaneous. It required patience, care, and understanding. One morning, the twins arrived to find the boy sitting quietly by the river, skipping small stones across the water. His small hands moved carefully, but his eyes held a distant look, as though he was searching for something just out of reach. The twins approached softly, not wanting to disturb him. "Good morning," one twin said gently. "How are you today?" The boy did not respond immediately. Finally, after a long pause, he whispered, I miss him." The twins exchanged a quiet glance. They understood immediately. He was talking about his father, the man he had lost, the warmth and protection he had once known. Though the mother was doing her best to comfort him, the void left by his father was something that no one could fill. "We know," the other twin said softly. "It is okay to miss him. It is okay to feel sad." The boy nodded, tears forming in his eyes. He looked at the twins with a mixture of gratitude and longing. "I don't want to feel scared again," he admitted. "I don't want to be alone." The twins crouched beside him, their voices calm and reassuring. "You won't be alone again," they said in unison. "We will make sure of that, and your mother will always be there too. You are safe now." Though their words were simple, they carried power. The boy's small shoulders relaxed slightly, and for the first time in days he smiled, a hesitant but genuine expression. The twins smiled back, understanding that this was a small but significant victory. They had helped him step out of fear and into hope, though the journey of healing was still ongoing. As the morning unfolded, the twins decided it was time to help the boy and his mother strengthen their home and routines. They taught the boy small tasks, like gathering water or helping his mother with simple chores. They encouraged him to explore the land safely, guiding him along paths where he could play without risk. The boy discovered that he could be brave, that he could face the world even after so much loss. One afternoon, as the twins and the boy walked along a familiar path, a sudden noise startled them. A small fire had started near a group of dry bushes, likely caused by a stray spark or a careless passerby. The flames spread quickly, and the boy froze in fear. The twins acted immediately, instructing him to step back while they worked to extinguish the fire. Using their knowledge of the land, they stomped on the flames and threw sand over the remaining sparks. The boy watched in awe and relief. He realized how much courage it took to act in the face of danger. "I want to help," he said, trembling slightly. The twins smiled. "One step at a time," they said. "Bravery grows slowly. You will learn, but for now you did well by staying safe." This event became a turning point for the boy. He began to understand that courage did not mean being fearless. It meant acting even when scared. He started to take small steps toward independence, learning to trust himself and the guidance of those who cared for him. Back at home, the mother noticed the change in her son. He spoke more freely, laughed more often, and even helped her with small tasks without being asked. Though the pain of losing his father still lingered, the boy was beginning to find strength within himself. He realized that life could continue, that love could be rebuilt, and that he could trust others to help him along the way. The twins, too, felt a sense of growth and understanding. They had started the journey by finding the boy, but now they were witnessing his transformation. Their own courage and determination had been tested, and they learned that kindness required patience, empathy, and unwavering commitment. They saw that true strength came not from physical ability alone, but from the heart, the willingness to care for someone else, even when it was difficult or inconvenient. One evening, the mother prepared a small meal for the twins as a gesture of gratitude. She spoke softly about her fears and hopes, sharing her grief and her relief that her son was safe. The twins listened attentively, offering gentle words of encouragement. They reminded her that her love and guidance were just as important as their help in ensuring the boy felt safe and loved. As the night deepened, the boy lay in bed, thinking about the day's events. He felt a mix of emotions: fear, sadness, hope, and excitement. He realized that he had survived a journey that could have ended in tragedy, and that he had been given a second chance. The thought of the twins and his mother gave him comfort. He understood that he was not alone, and that even in the face of fear, there was always someone willing to help. The twins stayed nearby, keeping watch through the night. They had learned from experience that safety required vigilance, especially for someone who had faced so much loss. Yet, as they observed the boy sleeping peacefully, they felt a sense of fulfillment. They had guided him through fear, shown him kindness, and helped him take the first steps toward healing. Over the following days, the boy continued to grow in confidence. He explored the riverbank, played in the fields, and even began to join other children in the village under the careful supervision of his mother. Each new experience was a challenge, but with the twins' guidance and his mother's love, he learned to face each one with courage. The twins also took this time to teach him about the land, the plants, and the animals. They showed him how to recognize safe paths, how to find clean water, and how to move carefully to avoid danger. Through these lessons, the boy began to feel a sense of mastery over his environment, understanding that knowledge and preparation were as important as courage in facing life's challenges. One day, as the boy helped the twins carry water from the river, he paused and looked up at the sky. "I think I am stronger now," he said quietly, "because you helped me, and my mother too." The twins smiled, feeling a deep warmth in their hearts. "Yes, you are stronger," one twin said, "and you will keep growing stronger every day." The boy nodded, feeling a new sense of determination. He understood that life would not always be easy, but he had the tools, the guidance, and the love he needed to face challenges. He had learned that courage was not about never being afraid. It was about moving forward despite fear, about trusting those who cared for him, and about believing in his own strength. As the sun set over the desert, casting long shadows across the land, the boy sat by the river with the twins and his mother. They watched the colors shift in the sky, the water reflecting the pinks and oranges of the evening. For a moment, everything was calm, peaceful, and full of promise. The boy felt a sense of belonging, of love, and of hope for the future. The journey was far from over, but the turning point had come. The boy had moved from fear to trust, from loneliness to connection, and from sadness to hope. With the twins and his mother by his side, he was ready to face whatever life would bring. He had learned that even after loss there could be joy, even after fear there could be courage, and even in the harshest deserts there could be beauty and love. That night, as the stars twinkled above, the boy whispered a small prayer of gratitude. He thought of the twins, of his mother, and of the journey that had brought him back to safety. He knew that challenges would come again, but he felt ready to meet them, strengthened by love, courage, and the lessons he had learned. And the twins, sitting quietly nearby, felt a quiet pride. They had witnessed a transformation, a fragile, frightened child becoming a boy filled with hope, courage, and resilience. They had learned that true strength was found in kindness, patience, and the unwavering commitment to help others, no matter the obstacles. In the desert, under the vast, star-filled sky, a new chapter had begun. The boy, his mother, and the twins had faced fear, loss, and uncertainty, but they had also discovered courage, love, and the power of human connection. And in that discovery, they found a hope that would carry them forward into whatever challenges lay ahead. The days after the boy's reunion with his mother passed in a gentle rhythm, filled with small joys and quiet lessons. The river flowed steadily, glinting under the sun, as if reflecting the hope that had returned to the boy's life. The twins visited often, bringing small gifts, stories, and encouragement, while the mother worked tirelessly to provide a sense of normalcy and warmth for her son. Life had changed, yet in the midst of change, a new stability began to grow. The boy learned to laugh again. His laughter started small, a soft giggle when the twins played a gentle trick or when his mother shared a funny story. Over time, it grew bolder, filling their small home with warmth and joy. The shadows of loneliness and fear that had once haunted him began to fade, replaced by the steady light of love and safety. Every day, he discovered new things about the world and about himself, each small discovery strengthening his confidence. One morning, the twins took him to the edge of the desert, a place where the hills met the open sky. They showed him how to read the land, how to recognize landmarks, find clean water, and understand the wind. They explained that the desert, though sometimes harsh, was also full of life and lessons. The boy listened intently, absorbing every word, feeling the pride of learning something new. With every step, he realized that he was capable, that he could navigate life carefully and courageously, and that he was no longer alone in facing challenges. The mother watched from a distance, her heart swelling with gratitude. She saw the boy's small hands gripping the twins as they guided him, saw his bright eyes following their every move, and felt a sense of relief that he was learning to trust, to hope, and to grow. She knew that life would not always be easy, that there would be hardships ahead, but she felt reassured knowing that her son had the support of people who truly cared for him. One afternoon, as they sat together under a large mesquite tree, the boy spoke quietly, almost as if testing the words in his mouth. "I'm not afraid anymore," he said, glancing at the twins. "Even if I get lost again, I think I can find my way. And I know my mother will help me too." The twins smiled, exchanging a look of pride. "That's right," one twin said gently. "Courage is not about never being scared. It is about moving forward even when you are afraid." The boy nodded, feeling a sense of strength he had never known before. The lessons of the desert, the guidance of the twins, and the love of his mother had combined to teach him something vital, that life could be faced bravely, and that he was never truly alone. As weeks turned into months, the boy began to thrive. He explored the riverbank, helped his mother with daily chores, and played with other children in the village. Each day brought new experiences and challenges, but he faced them with growing confidence. When he stumbled or made a mistake, he remembered the lessons from the twins: patience, careful observation, and courage. Slowly, he built not only skills but a sense of self-worth. The twins, too, noticed changes within themselves. Their acts of kindness had begun to shape their own understanding of the world. They realized that helping others was not simply an action, but a way of life, a principle that gave their days purpose. Their courage, patience, and empathy had grown, and they became more aware of the small ways in which they could impact the lives of others in their community. The boy's journey had taught them as much as they had taught him. One day, the boy's mother called the twins to her home. She had prepared a small meal in their honor, wanting to express her deep gratitude. As they sat around the table, she spoke with tears in her eyes. "You too saved my son. You showed him love, courage, and hope when he needed it most. I cannot thank you enough. You have changed our lives forever." The twins listened quietly, feeling a warmth that came not from recognition, but from knowing they had made a difference. They knew that gratitude was a gift, but the true reward was seeing the boy grow, laugh, and face life with courage. Over time, the boy's confidence blossomed into responsibility. He helped his mother care for the home, guided younger children near the river, and shared small lessons he had learned from the twins. Though still young, he began to understand that kindness and courage could ripple outward, affecting more lives than one could imagine. He became a small beacon of hope in his community, showing that even those who had faced hardship could grow strong, compassionate, and resilient. The twins continued their daily routines, but now they did so with a deeper understanding of life. They had learned that courage was intertwined with empathy, and that every small action could have profound consequences. Their reputation in the village grew, not because of recognition, but because people saw the way they treated others, with respect, patience, and kindness. The boy's mother, too, found a new sense of strength. She realized that while she could not bring back the past, she could shape the future. She focused on creating a loving and stable environment for her son, teaching him the values of honesty, courage, and compassion. She also encouraged him to cherish the guidance of the twins, understanding that their wisdom and care had helped shape the person he was becoming. One afternoon, as the boy sat by the river, watching the sunlight dance on the water, he reflected on how far he had come. He thought of the fear that had consumed him, of the loneliness he had felt, and of the small hands of the twins guiding him to safety. He realized that life had given him a second chance, a chance to learn, to grow, and to thrive. His heart was lighter and his spirit stronger. The twins, walking nearby, noticed the change in him. He moved with confidence, spoke with clarity, and even laughed freely. They saw the boy's transformation as a triumph not only of courage, but also of love, patience, and human connection. They knew that the journey had been difficult, but the outcome had been worth every step, every challenge, and every tear. As the sun set that evening, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, the boy sat between his mother and the twins. Together they watched the river flow, the world quiet around them. In that moment, everything felt right. The boy felt safe, loved, and hopeful. The mother felt reassured that her son was growing into a strong, compassionate person. And the twins felt a quiet pride, knowing they had played a small part in this journey of courage, healing, and hope. The boy whispered softly, almost to himself, "Thank you for everything." The twins smiled. "No need to thank us," one said gently. "We only did what anyone would do, but seeing you safe and happy, that is the real reward." The mother hugged her son tightly, feeling a mix of relief, gratitude, and joy. "You are safe now, my little one," she whispered, "and we will face everything together." In the days and months that followed, the boy continued to grow in confidence and courage. He learned new skills, explored the world around him, and nurtured friendships in the village. Though the memory of his father remained, it no longer brought only sorrow. It reminded him of the love he had been given and the strength he carried within himself. The twins continued to visit and teach, guiding not just the boy, but others in the community who needed help. Their small acts of kindness had grown into a legacy of compassion and courage, showing that even the youngest members of a community could make a difference. The boy's mother, strengthened by her own journey and the support of the twins, found peace and confidence in her role. She realized that love, courage, and empathy could overcome even the greatest challenges. Her son's laughter filled their home, a constant reminder that hope could flourish even after great loss, and the boy himself grew into a child of remarkable resilience. He understood the value of courage, the importance of kindness, and the power of connection. He had faced fear and loneliness, but through the love of his mother and the guidance of the twins, he had discovered the strength to face the future with hope. The desert, once a place of fear and uncertainty, had become a symbol of growth and possibility. The river, flowing steadily through the land, reflected not only sunlight, but the journey of a young boy who had been lost and found, who had known sorrow and joy, fear and courage, despair and hope. In the end, the story was not just about one boy or two twins. It was about the power of love, the importance of empathy, and the quiet but profound ways in which human beings can change each other's lives. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had also been filled with lessons, growth, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And under the endless sky, with the desert stretching beyond the horizon, the boy, his mother, and the twins knew one thing for certain. No matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, guided by courage, strengthened by love, and inspired by the knowledge that even small acts of kindness could change the world.